My name is Margaret Collins, and I am 79 years old. I live with my only son, David, and his wife, Emma. Life wasn't always this quiet, nor this heavy. There was a time when the house felt full of laughter, warmth, and kindness. After my husband passed away, I thought I would never find peace again. But David became my strength. He took care of everything, from my medicine to making sure I ate properly. He even learned how to cook a few dishes, something he never did before his father's death. Every evening, he would sit beside me and ask if I was feeling all right. His voice was soft and caring, and I felt that as long as I had my son, I would never truly be alone. I still remember those first few weeks after my husband's funeral. David woke up early every morning to make tea for both of us. He checked my blood pressure, reminded me to take my pills, and made sure I had breakfast before he left for work. When he came home, he would sit next to me and talk about his day. I listened, grateful just to hear his voice fill the quiet house. I thought the worst days were behind me, but slowly, something began to change. At first, it was small things. David coming home a little later than usual, speaking less, smiling less. I told myself it was just work stress, but there was a heaviness in his eyes I couldn't ignore. He stopped sitting with me in the evenings. He began eating his dinner in silence. When I asked about his day, he gave short answers. It was fine, mother. That was all. Emma, his wife, was kind at the beginning. She used to bring me tea, asked if I needed help with anything, and talk about her day at work. But with time, her tone changed. She started sighing a lot, long, tired sighs that filled the air with discomfort. I overheard her one evening saying, "We can't keep doing this, David. The bills, the groceries, your mother's medicine, it's too much." David didn't respond at first, but when he did, his voice was weary. "We'll manage, Emma." Their arguments became more frequent. I pretended not to hear, but their voices traveled through the thin walls. "You spoil her too much," Emma said one night. "She's my mother," David replied firmly. "I won't abandon her." But Emma's words cut through me like a knife. "I'm not talking about emotions, David. I'm talking about reality." I clutched my blanket tightly that night and stared at the ceiling. I didn't want to be a burden. I had already lost so much. I didn't want to lose my son's peace, too. From then on, I tried to stay quiet, to need less, to exist softly in the corners of the house. Days passed, and Emma spoke to me only when necessary. Her words were short and often sounded like commands. "Your tea is there. Don't spill that. Close the door properly." I missed the sound of kindness in her voice. David, too, became distant. He no longer asked how I was feeling. He no longer noticed when I was unwell. I started eating alone most nights. My hands trembled as I lifted the spoon, and sometimes tears blurred my vision. One morning, I tried to pour myself some tea, but my hands shook so badly that I spilled it on the table. From the kitchen, Emma sighed loudly. I froze, ashamed, pretending nothing had happened. That sigh was louder than any words. It told me I was unwanted. As time went on, my body grew weaker. Some days, it was hard to stand up. My legs ached constantly. When I needed water, I had to walk slowly with my cane, balancing myself against the wall. Once, when I crossed paths with David in the hallway, he didn't even look at me. I wanted to call out to him, to remind him I was there. "David, can we talk?" I whispered. He shook his head, avoiding my eyes. "I'm busy, mother," he said, and walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. The air felt cold even though the heater was on. I heard them talking in the kitchen again. Emma's voice was sharp. "We can't keep her forever. David, the cost, the medicine, everything. It's too much." David's voice was quieter. "I know, Emma. I'll think of something." My heart stopped for a moment. What did she mean? "We can't keep her forever." A deep fear spread through me. Could my own son truly send me away? I wanted to believe he wouldn't. I remembered the boy who used to hold my hand on his way to school. The boy who cried when he scraped his knee and ran to me for comfort. That little boy would never abandon his mother. I clung to that memory like a fragile thread of hope. But things only got worse. Emma barely looked at me anymore. David seemed lost in his own world, distant and tired. I grew weaker each day until one morning, I couldn't get up from bed. My head burned with fever. I called softly for water, but no one came for a long time. When David finally entered, he looked troubled but also restless, as if he wanted to be anywhere else. He gave me some water, and Emma stood behind him, her arms crossed, her face cold and expressionless. That night, I heard Emma yelling again. "We can't waste more money on doctors, David. Tomorrow, we're taking her out." Her words pierced through the silence. I wanted to cry out, to beg, but my voice failed me. My heart felt heavy, and tears rolled down my cheeks silently. The next evening, David came into my room and said softly, "Mother, we're going for a drive. You'll feel better." His voice was gentle, almost comforting. I wanted to believe him. I always trusted him. He helped me into the car and covered me with a blanket. The car moved through dark roads, past familiar streets, then further into places I didn't recognize. The air grew colder. Finally, the car stopped in a quiet, empty area. Emma opened the door. "Let's go," she said flatly. David helped me out of the car. My legs could barely hold me. He laid me down gently on the cold ground and placed a thin blanket over me. I looked at his face, searching for the warmth I once knew. "David, please," I whispered weakly. But he didn't look at me. He turned away, and I heard the car door close. The sound of the engine faded into the distance, leaving me surrounded by silence. The night was endless. The air bit at my skin. My body trembled under the thin blanket. I tried to move, to call for help, but my voice was faint, almost gone. I could hear only the wind and the distant sound of crickets. I thought of my husband, of the home we built, of the laughter that once filled the rooms. I thought of David's small hands wrapped around mine when he was a child. Tears rolled down my face until I had none left. When morning came, I heard footsteps. A man's voice called out, "Ma'am, are you all right?" I opened my eyes slowly. A tall man was kneeling beside me. He looked shocked and worried. He gave me water from his bottle and quickly pulled out his phone. "Don't worry," he said. "Help is coming." Soon, I heard the sound of sirens. The police and an ambulance arrived. They lifted me gently and took me to the hospital. I stayed there for many days. The nurses were kind. They spoke softly, treated me gently, and slowly, my strength returned. When the police asked about what happened, I told them the truth, but I begged them not to punish David. Despite everything, I still loved him. A mother's heart never forgets her child. When I was well enough to leave, they brought me to a senior care home. At first I was terrified. I thought it would be lonely again, that I would spend my days in silence. But I was wrong. I met people like me, people with stories of loss, pain, and hope. Some were knitting, some were singing, some were playing cards. Slowly, I started to talk, to smile, to live again. I made friends, Rose, who loved to sing old songs, and Henry, who never stopped joking. One afternoon, Rose said, "Come on, Margaret, let's sing something together." I laughed softly. "It's been so long," I said. She smiled. "Then today is the perfect day to start again," and we sang. My voice was shaky at first, but soon, warmth spread through my chest. For the first time in years, I felt alive. I walked through the garden later that day, feeling the sunlight on my face. I looked at the trees, the flowers, the sky, and I smiled. Sometimes, I still think of David. I pray for him every night. I hope he finds peace and realizes what he lost. But I've stopped waiting for him. In this new place, I found something I thought I had lost forever: kindness, friendship, and a sense of belonging. My life didn't end the night I was abandoned. It started again. Even at 79, I've learned that loneliness can fade when hearts open. I am no longer invisible. I am not unwanted. I am alive, and I am not alone anymore.